This year, the Tennessee Gas Association celebrates its 40th anniversary in Kingsport, Tennessee. The theme for this year's convention is 40 years of service to Tennessee, yesterday, today, tomorrow. This is the history of TGA as told by its members.
Tom Bell, you were as instrumental as anybody in the founding of the Tennessee Gas Association 40 years ago. Did you think it would last this long?
Well, I guess it is a miracle, but we had some good help when we put it together. In the name of a young advertising guy named John Ward and an ex-UT employee named Harry Jones, and those two were the ones that were instrumental in really developing the idea and putting it together. Well, we were looking for ways to develop a market for natural gas. In the 1950s, natural gas was new to the area. It was not accepted as a fuel for commercial and residential uses. People thought Tennessee Valley Authority electricity was the most modern fuel, and that was the way the business went. So we had to develop a market. The distributors and the pipelines were restricted on funds, so it was difficult for either one of them to go out by themselves and develop a market. So we were looking for a way to join together to spend their advertising, marketing funds economically to develop a natural gas market in the Tennessee area.
Well, I think one of the primary goals was to try to get everybody doing the same thing. I mean, in harmony with one another. We all did the same thing, but maybe not in harmony like it should have been. Everybody tried to keep in touch with what one was doing with the other one, and it enhanced the image as far as the industry was concerned to everyone.
And at that time, I wasn't too familiar with TGA, to be honest about it. Later on, in the early 70s, after becoming supervisor, I got involved with the training end of it, which was nice. Because if you had a problem, your peers were out there that you met at the conventions and what have you. If you had a problem, he had that problem. He had the solution to that problem. So the whole thing was to get it together, solve that problem. And I had quite a few times I needed somebody to solve some problems.
We all had to work together. Now, we may disagree like everything before the Federal Power Commission at that time, which later became the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. But we all remain good friends, and I think that's probably working together through the TGA certainly did a lot to encourage that.
This city of Jackson has produced several TGA presidents, from the early years through the days of curtailment in the 1970s into the growth years of the 1980s.
In '73, curtailment hit, and it was a real trying time for all the industries. I think probably TGA helped in that we could get together and we were all suffering the same fate, and I guess it helped from a moral standpoint or a morale standpoint we could get together and share our problems. And then I think too TGA was good about helping us inform the public and the citizens of Tennessee just what the problem was, and it was something that the local distributor couldn't do anything about.
Obviously, the curtailment years were a very difficult period of time for those of us that were working in the industry at that time. So I think just the consistent voice of the association and the promotion and the marketing that we did helped to restore that confidence in our industry. You know, we needed that boost, and we needed that consistent message about our product and the comfort, the safety, the reliability, the affordability that Tennessee Gas Association brought to our consumer.
The federal government started formulating the pipeline regulations. I happened to be chairman of the Pipeline Safety Committee with Tennessee Gas Association. One of the members of the committee was Charlie May from Jackson, who was a member of the national committee that was formulating the regulations. So Charlie would meet with us and tell us what they're talking about doing up there. We would pick it apart and send our input up there. And I think the Tennessee Gas Association played a major part in the final regulations of the Pipeline Safety Committee. And that, down through the years, has been a very big part of the operation of a natural gas system.
We're in Memphis, site of TGA conventions and conferences. Certainly, the many and varied affiliate members of the TGA continue to play an important part in conferences every year.
The affiliates have always been a very important part of the association. And in the years of my tenure, most importantly, where we have started offering exhibits at the various conferences, spring and fall, we didn't have that before. We do that for them. They sponsor, for instance, we have a scholarship golf tournament every year. They sponsor that.
I think the TGA affiliate members help by being a conduit for spreading best practices between system to system through sales calls, product demonstrations, consulting work throughout the years. They pick these things up by new products, going to other meetings in other states, other gas systems.
Well, TGA is the Education Committee has other functions, like one that comes to mind is the D&O, the distribution and operation. That is where you bring vendors in, vendors set up, they have new equipment that they display, and they answer questions from employees who have used their equipment, and it also brings employees together. And therefore they can network, they can talk about things that work, things that don't work, and it just makes for a good session where you learn from the experiences of the other employees.
Probably the two greatest ways that the affiliates help is financially. They are very big contributors to all the activities that TGA does. And then also just the personal involvement of each one of the affiliates, the company members that they have. Most of those are very, very active.
The number of affiliates involved in the Tennessee Gas Association has grown dramatically. I don't have the exact numbers, but they've grown dramatically in the 30 or so years I've been involved. In my initial years, there were just a handful of affiliates that were involved in a few committee meetings, and now they're involved in virtually every event and every committee in the association.
Each year, the TGA sponsors both a fall and a spring conference, as well as seminars and training workshops throughout the year at suitable locations, such as here in Cookeville.
You know, this industry is changing daily. It used to be it was yearly, but now it's changing daily, and it changes so much. You know, the Education Committee is having to stay on top of some of the changes and trying to structure our meetings towards those changes. One thing that I like about the Education Committee, too, is we are getting away at some of our bigger conferences. We're getting away from some of the gas-specific topics and getting more to motivational and leadership style seminars, which is excellent. You know, because we can get our gas-specific in some of our more D&O conference, which we need to be gas-specific there. And so it's you know, we've kind of have got outside the box a little bit with our education meetings, which is tremendous. That's, I think, helping us out a lot.
In the last several years, the Tennessee Gas Association has developed a scholarship program for children of member companies, and I don't know the exact number, but I believe we've given on the order of 35 or 40 scholarships to date. And the board of the Tennessee Gas Association has endorsed this program and set aside some additional funding for it in the hopes that eventually it'll be a self-sustaining program, have enough funds to live off the interest. The main money raiser we use for this is a golf and tennis tournament that we run each year. And so we get a combination of some exercise and some fellowship, and also raise some money for a good cause. So that's one of the newer things that the association has brought up.
I do think we need to offer more training and be specific to each utility's needs. The younger people coming along needs the knowledge of the older group. I've been in customer service 43 years, and hopefully I've learned something along the way that I can pass on to our young people. But I think customer service is the core of your business.
I go back and remember when drug testing, for example, came in to be a requirement remember TGA done an extensive program as well as across the state in regard to educating its members in what we had to do to comply with drug programs, because that was one of the first mandate things that we'd had since Rule Part 192, and we were all kind of scared of what that was going to cause us to have to do.
But all that range of seminars and workshops and meetings throughout the year is where people gain a great deal of value out of TGA.
The training, I found that is tremendously important of TGA's training for our employees. We've got operators qualification now. TGA took a leadership in that, and these are the things that they help the utilities with, and I personally believe that the natural gas industry is still the safest industry in the energy field.
Basically, what we do for our member companies is we try and establish conferences, workshops, whether it's dealing with safety, customer service, security issues. We do this for our members because that's why they belong to the association, basically for what we can do for them. It's basically part of our objectives and part of our initial mission statement, to do together what we can't do alone.
Well, you have D&O conferences, which more of your frontline people attend the D&O conferences and learn, the different technologies, different improvements that the industry has made. Then you have your file management conference, which deals more with the managers, and it lets them know of the upcoming technology and helps them become more aware of things that we can be doing to change in the future.
We currently do distributed education in that we have quite a number of specifically focused workshops throughout the state now, very many times during the year. And I'm proud to say, as a member of Memphis Light, Gas and Water, that some of our retirees are performing those particular programs and doing the instruction in those programs. But these are for the people in the field to get them up to speed on operator qualification efforts, as well as the other general workshops that TGA puts on. But this is certainly one of the cornerstones of TGA, is education. Always has been, and I think it always will be.
In Upper East Tennessee, like everywhere, the threat of terrorism brings new challenges of security and government regulations along with it.
We had a concern for our office personnel who sometimes are in the office, maybe one or two of them. So the general public has gotten to where you're a little more concerned about someone coming in because of what you read about in the post office or the fast food restaurants. So I think our concern is more that we are sure that our office personnel are protected and that they are safe.
One thing that people worry about the natural gas infrastructure, I know it's been mentioned on the national news. The good and the bad is we're spread over a tremendously wide geographical area. The good is we're spread over a tremendously wide geographical area. It would be difficult to cripple the pipeline industry by any sort of terrorist activity because of that fact. So we have increased the level of security, as everyone has, around our critical facilities and our pipeline facilities such as compressor stations. But by the same token, I think we have some benefits in because of our widespread presence.
The terrorist threat is real. It's something we spend a good deal of time researching, protecting, thinking, changing our processes and procedures. I've been very impressed that we have tiers that are synchronized with the orange and red and yellow alert systems. It's more diligent, and I think we can share some best practice through TGA to look at those kind of things.
Today, the TGA maintains ongoing communications with legislative and regulatory bodies here in the state capital, Nashville.
Yes, I was been involved in the legislative committee of TGA for a number of years, since the beginning of my involvement with TGA. And basically what we did, we have such a diverse group of members. We have pipelines and municipalities, and we have utility districts, and we have housing authorities, and so we have such a diverse group that we have to keep all those interests in mind. So basically what we've done is try to be on the defensive more than anything else to make sure nothing was passed that would hurt any of us, and also to communicate what TGA was about and what the gas industry was about in Tennessee, to have a positive image of us at the legislature.
One of the issues that's before the legislature right now that's really important to all of us is what they call the TDOT bill. This bill is going to allow utilities to be compensated for any relocation of their gas mains on highway relocation projects. And this is very important with our legislators to enact this legislation to save us a lot of money in the years to come.
Okay, the TGA is more of a monitor of legislation, proposed legislation. TGA has not in the past really actively pursued the introduction of legislation, but more as education for its members and keeping the members informed of proposed legislation, and then we select certain pieces of legislation that we feel that we need to support or monitor or in some cases oppose.
Well, I think one of the main focuses that the TGA assists with a lot of the groups today is just keeping the information flow available to us. There are a lot of bills being passed through legislatures that may have an impact, direct impact on the different gas utilities. What I see some of the challenges going into the future for a lot of the gas distributors, we're trying to find ways to keep the costs down as much as possible and to stay compliant. So with the new OPQUAL regulations, this operator qualification, the TGA has been very instrumental in getting the training, getting information about what these laws actually mean to the distributors.
I think it's been one of the real strengths of the organization, though, that we've been able to march into the legislative arena and the regulatory arena with one voice. After a lot of discussion, a lot of internal discussion and decision making, that we're able to speak with one voice. And I think it served our industry in the state very well.
This is Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. When filled with over 107,000 fans, it becomes the 5th largest city in the state. The TGA became the first statewide sponsor of the Vol Network and continues to bring the story of the volunteers as well as other state universities into the homes of Tennesseans.
I'm very proud of the fact that I was one of the directors of the Tennessee Gas Association when we voted to become the first sponsor of the Vol Network, with a fellow by the name of John Ward, who's at the meeting and promoting that for us.
Well, we've developed a website for TGA, for member companies, and also our consumers, our customers to go to and be able to find out information about natural gas. We've also developed a best practices program, and that's been really good to be able to get out information about the different marketing programs that the member companies have, and to talk about those and see what works best and what doesn't work.
And I think what TGA does, the radio ads, the TV spots we've always had have been the face of TGA, or face of the industry in the state. So I think without a TGA kind of helping us speak with one voice, we'd have had a very difficult time.
That's when they become a sponsor, a statewide sponsor in the Vol Network. And that has always been continuous since then, and in advertising that's important. But I think the impact of that advertising and what the interest that generated among the utilities to use those spots and really get active in advertising and marketing, I think 84 and 85 was a key time, because that's probably when the most effective advertising in the state started.
What I noticed at that time, it was awful hard to sell natural gas after the curtailment days. The advertisement that came across statewide and from local utilities is what changed that thing around, because people, it was hard to convince them there was no shortages. And that was a major thing during that period of time that we overcame, which I think advertisement and sticking with the efficiency and the most economic fuel we got, I think that's what turned it around.
You know, once we got through curtailment, which was the most difficult time, the marketing program, I think, was the one thing that set us apart and started us on a growth pattern, at least in Knoxville, that was double digits for several years. And I've heard lots of grousing by the TVA folks, I can tell you that.
This is the Nashville skyline. Quite a bit different today than it was when the TGA held its first convention here in the early 1960s.
Well, as I recall, the first one was held in the old Hermitage Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. And a group of us that were interested in forming the Tennessee Gas Association sponsored and put it together. We brought in an outside speaker who I remember very well, got drunk the night before. Much to my surprise, he showed up on time the next day and made an inspirational speech and hopefully got us started on the way for the Tennessee Gas Association. The programs were improved substantially after that first convention, and developed from that point.
First convention, we didn't have very many members or very many attendees. At that time, we only had employees of the companies, not their spouses, to attend the convention. So that limited the number of people that we had. So East Tennessee Natural Gas was a big supporter of the TGA and was very instrumental in setting up the TGA. So the conventions each year got a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, and now they're in the top with the rest of them in the country, probably better than most state conventions.
Over the years, we've had several people from other companies that come to that are part of the TGA, and a lot of them from Houston, where the country is very hot and dry. So they've enjoyed going to the trout streams and whatever. And the year we went to Chattanooga up the Hiwassee, I had a girl that was pregnant, and I spent a lot of the day afraid she was going to fall when she was wading the river. And they had told me that there were stones that were in the river that had a healing ability, and I didn't pick one of them up, and I really hate that I didn't, but she did, so I'm sure her baby was all right.
John, is really, it seems like that the most entertaining thing is for the best golf courses and the best tennis courts. You know, and you can rest assured that when TGA has a convention, there's going to be a damn good golf course somewhere.
One of the things that I'm very proud of that we did back in the 90s was to recognize the people who built this organization very early on in its early days. And in 1995, we implemented a lifetime honorary membership for the past presidents of the association. And it was good that first year, I think it was 1995, when we got to see a lot of old faces, again, familiar faces to us, people on whose shoulders we built this organization. And I think it's just a way of honoring what they have done in the past.
Well, I guess to have to say my favorite one would have been in '93 when we had it in Memphis at the Marriott, because that was the year I was president. So that certainly had to be my most memorable and favorite convention that I attended.
Every year in the annual conference, as part of the annual conference, we have a very friendly tennis tournament. Jim Carmen up in Knoxville ran that for a couple of years, and Jim was too much of a perfectionist for it. He wanted to have exactly 12 people, 12 men and 12 ladies, and we'd get to the court and it'd never be that way. There'd always be somebody missing, and I played as a woman one year to make it work, and we had a lot of interesting things happen there.
But they went out in town there someplace, as the story goes, and when it come time to go home, and probably the daylight hours, they suddenly just remembered that you couldn't get out on the streets of Gatlinburg, driving or walking, if you'd had a little too much to drink. So, and there wasn't many taxi cabs. Gatlinburg was a pretty small operation back in those days. So their only form of public transportation was as a garbage truck come by and they paid this garbage truck to let them hang on to it. And they drove them through Gatlinburg up to the River Terrace Hotel. And it was time where a few people were going to breakfast, so this was witnessed. And they brought them up to their various sections of the hotel, and they ones that dropped off at that unit while they would get off. But they were evidently, as I wasn't up that quite that early that morning, so they said that the garbage truck was pretty full, so there was a pretty good crew of them. So
I had the opportunity to serve as president during the World's Fair in '82 in Knoxville, and just a great time. The American Gas Association and Tennessee Gas Association had an exhibit there that was well attended and well done. And we also had the convention there at the Hyatt Regency. Remember several occasions I had the opportunity. Bob Hope was there representing Texaco. He was doing a program, and had an opportunity to ride down the elevator with him. It was his 79th birthday. And had a nice conversation with him. He was taking his little dog out to walk.
I've attended every one of the conventions, haven't missed a one since the first convention. So that goes back quite a ways. And I don't want to miss one. So.
Chattanooga has been the site of many TGA conventions, where ideas have originated that will improve natural gas service to Tennesseans into the 21st century.
Well, I think the first suggestion I would make is to be involved. Get involved in TGA. Attend the seminars and the meetings and the training sessions and the legislative events, and get to know people. That's the greatest thing that I think TGA has benefited me and our company from, is just by getting to know so many people. Travel the state if you can, learn from one another. That's the biggest key, I think.
You know, I really think TGA provides, number one, a training facility for us, and I think it provides this one voice to the legislature, and I think it also provides just a great networking opportunities amongst our peers and kind of learn from each other's experiences. And I think what we'll face into the future will continue to fall into those three categories, and I think we'll have to change. The issues will be different, but they'll generally fall in that same category.
Well, certainly the role that TGA can play is twofold, I think. One, educating its members about what is going on in the gas business, and two, educating the legislators, both on the state level and the national level, particularly our state representatives in Washington, about those factors that are entering into the price volatility and the things that drive that price volatility, and help the legislators work through those issues that can help bring some stability back to the gas pricing issue.
Well, TGA's one of their primary responsibilities is education and communication, and so we've been in an evolving industry for 40 years, and it continues to evolve. And I guess if there's one issue, it's always change, and TGA can help anticipate that and help advise all of us and keep us communicating together.
So with the high gas prices, I think a lot of people are having to learn a lot of new things. I think it's causing a lot of distributors kind of act jointly together to try and address the situation. I think it's going to change how we market natural gas. I think that's one of the bigger current issues facing us right now.
Chattanooga Gas has been a part of TGA for a number of years now. I moved to Chattanooga 2 years ago, and of course that was the natural thing to do, was to go ahead and continue association.
Now, one of the other challenges and one of the things that the strength of TGA has always been customer service. And not only do we sell a product, as my good friend Lonzo Lamb once said, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and your furnace does not work, you really don't care who the manager is or what the rates are. You want to know if that service guy can fix the furnace. And so the strength of TGA has always been to educate and bring customer service programs to our members, so that the bottom line is we have to serve our customers in a cost-effective way, but they expect excellent customer service.
And so, 40 years later, what do the founders feel is TGA's most important achievement?
Well, in addition to helping develop the market over time, I think it was to develop a sense of pride in the natural gas industry in Tennessee. because many of the distributors came into the natural gas with very little experience. They were not welcomed into the larger gas associations, such as the Southern Gas Association and the American Gas Association. So the Tennessee Gas Association gave them not only a vehicle for advertising, but also for education and developing a sense of pride in their activities and their future.
You have shared the history, yesterday, today, tomorrow. The Tennessee Gas Association, 40 years of people with energy working for the people of Tennessee.